Welcome back. Over and over again, we hear the establishment trying to defend their big tech collusion by saying that the First Amendment doesn't apply to private companies. But as Elon Musk tweeted on Friday night, if a company is acting at the behest of government, that is a First Amendment matter. The first person that I saw make that argument was, in fact, our friend Vivek Ramaswamy in an article in the Wall Street Journal nearly 2 years ago. Vivek, of course, is the founder of Strive Capital and the author of Woke Inc., which also has a bearing on all this. And I'm delighted that he can be with us tonight. Vivek, great to see you. Let's hit the First Amendment point first. Just make the case about why this really is a First Amendment matter.
So look, classically, the argument is that private companies are free to decide what does and doesn't show up on their websites, and that's true. But that argument goes away if they're actually doing the bidding of state actors. And under a lot of case law, including a case called Brentwood, if these private actors are either coerced by government actors, if they're engaged in what they call willful participation in a joint activity that is coordinating in their activities, or if they're responding to inducements, any one of those can convert the action of a private company into the action of the government for constitutional purposes, basically saying that if it is state action in disguise, then the Constitution still applies. The government cannot delegate its dirty work to the private sector to be able to do through the back door what it cannot do through the front door under the Constitution, and that includes censoring speech, which would be a First Amendment violation. So that's the argument in general form, Steve. Now, to be clear, in the Elon Musk case, the counter-argument that people have made is that President Biden was not actually President Biden in October of 2020 when, say, the Hunter Biden laptop story. But that's where the nuance and the rubber hits the road here.
OK, so let's put up this tweet from Ted Lieu, congressman from California, who likes to mix it up on Twitter. And he said, well, I'm telling you, Elon Musk, to stop putting all this, I can't say the word, on Twitter. There, I'm in the government. That doesn't constitute a First Amendment issue because it's a private company. So he's saying just the government just telling the companies what to do isn't enough.
So look, there can be any one of three standards. Government either pressuring companies or even government offering inducements to companies. And Steve, I'll give you two really quick examples because I know you like to get in the meat of it. So one is there was years ago a case where there was a bookstore owner that didn't want to sell a book. Well, it turns out actually he wasn't selling the book because a prosecutor had threatened him to say that if he sells that book, he's going to get in trouble. The Supreme Court said that wasn't the action of a private bookseller. That was the action of the government because he acted based on pressure from the government. There's another case where actually railroads said that, you know what, the government gave a form of immunity to railroads, saying that they could search their passengers even though the government couldn't as part of the war on drugs. Well, you know what the Supreme Court said? You can't do that because that's an inducement to a private company to do what the government couldn't do. By the way, that's exactly how Section 230 works as it relates to social media companies getting immunity when they take down speech. So on multiple prongs, Steve, a lot of people within 50-mile radius of where I live here in Columbus, Ohio, actually understand the Constitution better than my former classmates, some of them at Yale Law School, when you actually read the case law. There absolutely can be state action in disguise if the government is coordinating with those private actors. That's a relevant argument here.
Very quick point, Vivek. Woke capital. You've been such an enemy of it. That plays a role here with the advertisers leaving Twitter. Now they seem to be coming back. The pressure that the advertisers put on these platforms to censor. That's a big part of this story, too.
That's a huge part of the story. This is about the weaponization of capital. And I think that whether or not you're a Democrat or a Republican, remember, Democrats didn't like the weaponization of corporate force back in the Citizens United era in 2010. This is not a left-wing or a right-wing issue. It is a 1776 issue. Do we live in a self-governing democracy where people decide for themselves what the right answers are to political questions? Or do we live in a corporatocratic autocracy, a combination of corporate power and state power, political power that is far more powerful than either one alone? That is the question of our day. And when you hear the term woke capitalism, which in some ways has been overused, that is really what is at issue. Separating capitalism from democracy so that we can preserve the power of each. That is what the American experiment is all about. And I think that is why this is the foundational issue of our time, making sure that we allow government to be government, business to be business, without letting either pollute the activities of the other.
Fantastic. You're the best, Vivek. Thank you so much for being with us on this important night. We really appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.